I'm Jonathan Keaton, and right beside me is Michael Wood, and welcome to 1497 Podcast.
And we've got you covered with news from the entertainment world, intriguing interviews, everything to do with sports, and of course, we're going to make you laugh along the way.
And I want my damn respect too.
Yo! What's good? What's good with y'all? It's your boy, Jonathan Keaton, in the cut on a fantastic Thursday. I can't even get my words together on what Daryl Morley, the GM for the 76ers, just did. We'll get to that in a minute. Shit. Anywho, it's your boy, or it's your other favorite boy, the greatest co-host that ever walked the planet, Mr. Michael Wood, a.k.a. Mr. Wood, a.k.a. the Woodster, a.k.a. Woody, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Michael Wood!
Yeah, I mean, as I was walking up to my apartment, I cut like a block away. I see a notification, and it was ESPN. And the trade, James Harden for Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks. I was like, wow. I mean, that was my initial reaction. But I guess since it just happened, let's start with that. I mean, what does this do for the Sixers, and what does it do for the Nets?
I think it helps out both teams. And while the Nets are doing all this, they got to trade Kyrie too to get more assets for the teams, or towards their team. What it does for the 76ers is it gives them a facilitator, right? What Ben Simmons could do. It gives everything that a guard can do. And it gives everything that a guard can do with the addition of shooting the ball. Because when James Harden can shoot, he can shoot. When James Harden can defend, he can defend. He can do everything that Ben Simmons could do besides shooting the ball. So offensively, the 76ers just made the move on they can possibly make it to the finals and win the NBA finals based on how Joel Embiid's playing. For Brooklyn, that gives you the same thing James Harden was doing, or what he's going to do in Philadelphia. Besides, Ben Simmons can't shoot the ball. So what's the best thing you do with that? You surround around shooters. You got Kevin Durant. You got Cam Thompson. You got Patty Mills. You got Seth Curry. And if they trade Kyrie, they can add more shooters onto that. I think it's a good trade for both teams.
Yeah, I want to focus first on the 76er side of things, because Ben Simmons was a name that it seemed like we were talking about almost every podcast. People were talking about it every day, and then it just kind of fizzled out. And he's finally on the move. When I look at what the 76ers lost, I mean, Andre Drummond was playing like he's playing a few minutes here and there, but nothing like super special. When I look at Ben Simmons, he wasn't playing at all. And then when I look at Seth Curry, he's probably the biggest piece that they lost. He shoots 40% from 3 this season, and he's averaging 15 points, which is on 5.5 attempts a game. So he's one of the better 3-point shooters in the NBA. But you got to look at James Harden, who is one of the better all-around players in the NBA. You said it, and I think this is the biggest point that you made. Playmaking. Ben Simmons was the playmaker for that team, why they were such a successful regular season team. And they just don't really have a playmaker. And they add, with the addition of James Harden, who's second in the NBA this season in assists. And we both know James Harden is a guy who can get a bucket just about any time he wants. It's just this season he hasn't really been doing that because he's been playing with like Kevin Durant and a bunch of other scorers. So I think this is going to open the floor for James Harden. And Joel Embiid can still play his game, because they didn't really have a guy to like facilitate him the ball. Now they do with James Harden, and James is just going to play his normal game. Joel's going to play his normal game. The only concern that I'm going to have for this team is chemistry, because James Harden, 2 teams in 2 years have traded him because he's demanded out because he doesn't like their odds of being a championship team. So what happens to this Sixers team when they face adversity? That's a big concern for me. But then let's focus on the Brooklyn Nets. The thing with Kyrie, I would agree with you if apparently in the coming weeks, the vaccine mandate is going to be lifted, so he'll be able to play, apparently. So if that, and obviously you can't really wait any longer, but I think you should wait, because Kyrie is a guy who, when him and KD are playing together, they're a really, really good duo. You had Seth Curry, who's a great shooter. You had Andre Drummond, a big, which is what they were missing. They were missing a big, and now you got Ben Simmons, a defender. This team really, really good offensively. A lot of the conversations focus on they can't stop anybody. And I know Ben Simmons is only 6'9", but when they play a guy like Giannis, Ben Simmons isn't going to stop him. No one in the league is going to stop Giannis, but Ben Simmons can slow him down. So I really, really like this trade for the Brooklyn Nets and the 76ers. I think this is one of the rare cases where both teams in the immediate moment have won this trade.
I agree. I agree with everything that you said. And then with Ben Simmons too, a lot of people forget to think that Ben Simmons can guard every position on the basketball court. And that's such a rare thing that you have in the NBA, like with a lot of great defenders besides Draymond Green and Matisse Thybulle getting into that position. Not a lot of guys can guard 1 through 5 and do it at the rate that Ben Simmons can do it and the rate that Draymond can do it. And then with Kyrie, if they're able to lift, like with New York and all their cases going on, if they do lift the vaccine mandate, that's good for Kyrie's case because Kyrie doesn't want to get the vaccine. But I think Kyrie should really sit down and really think about the vaccine, because if the cases go up, then that mandate goes back into effect, and then you're in the same situation as you were in square one.
Yeah, and I think Kyrie's going to stick to his guns. He's not going to change his mind.
Yeah,
because that's just who Kyrie is.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't fault him for that. But
Mm-hmm.
the one piece that I didn't touch on that the Brooklyn Nets acquired, Andre Drummond. This guy, he's playing the lowest amount of minutes in his entire career. You can be like, okay, he's done. But Andre Drummond is averaging nearly 9 rebounds in less than 20 minutes, which is pretty impressive. He's played behind Joel Embiid, and the biggest thing for me is I look at the teams that I think that the Nets are going to have to face in the Eastern Conference. We look at the Sixers, we look at the Bucks, we look at the Bulls, we look at the Heat. They play the Sixers. James Harden guarded by Ben Simmons. Joel Embiid guarded by Andre Drummond. And Andre Drummond is not going to lock up Joel Embiid. Ben Simmons can lock up James Harden, however. So I think that trade, as far as these teams going head to head, the Nets have won. And then you look at the Bucks. You got Ben Simmons who can guard Giannis, Andre Drummond who can guard Giannis in the paint. Then you look at the Bulls. They got DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine. One of those guys is going to be guarded by Ben Simmons. The other one's going to probably he's going to be an issue for them. And then you look at the Heat, who Jimmy Butler most likely is going to be guarded by Ben Simmons. Bam Adebayo is most likely going to be guarded by Andre Drummond. So all signs point to the Nets are going to be a really scary team, not only offensively but defensively. Ben Simmons, if he's still the player that we know him to be, going to be really dangerous playmaking the ball, getting Kevin Durant's shots. Obviously, Katie's going to get his shots regardless, but he's going to get even more with a good playmaker like Ben Simmons. So this is going to be James Harden said it when he first got to Brooklyn, but now that James Harden's gone, I truthfully believe it's going to be scary hours in Brooklyn.
Yeah, and one more thing that I'll bring up is Clint Capella and James Harden, from big man to guard duo, was one of the best in the NBA because he was not bolting up. He brought Clint Capella to a level where we only think that Clint Capella could rebound, but when they were during Harden's MVP season, 2018-2019, Clint Capella among all centers, what scoring, he was 7th. He scored 16.8 points per game, and then of course Joel was just sitting at the top by himself. So you get that guy that can do it all with him. I think he can make Joel Embiid. This might even sound crazy to say. I think Joel Embiid can really run away with this MVP race, getting James Harden. So I'm glad Ben Simmons is gone. I'm glad Daryl Morey pulled off what I think he wouldn't been able to pull off. So kudos to both teams.
Yeah, exactly right. You hit the nail on the head. And I guess we kind of just went into it. This is the move that I like the most. But do you have another trade that you like the most?
Yeah, I was about to say that trade, like I can't really beat that trade. But another trade that I like, this is a hot take. Another trade that I like is the Sacramento Kings getting what they got. You get rid of Halliburton, you get rid of Buddy Hield, and then you get rid of Tristan Thompson. Tristan Thompson wasn't really doing that much in Sacramento, let alone doing anything at all. And then Buddy Hield, on the other hand, Buddy Hield was top. He was top in the league at 3-pointers made, and then Halliburton was doing his thing. And both of them, or not both of them, because Buddy Hield's 29, Tyrese Halliburton's 21. But then you get, for the Kings, you get Dante DiVincenzo, who's a big part of the defense for the Milwaukee Bucks. You get Jeremy Lamb, you get Domantas Sabonis, you get Justin Holiday, and you get a second-round pick on top of that. And Domantas Sabonis, I don't think people really know how big he was to the Pacers. 4 or 3 out of the 5 categories, Domantas Sabonis led in all of those categories: assists, points, and rebounds. And then when you break it down between Halliburton and Davion Mitchell, the rookie out of Baylor, he played 6 less minutes than him. Halliburton had 14.3 points per game. Mitchell had 10.4. Rebounds per game, Halliburton had 3.9. Mitchell had 2.3. Assists per game, Halliburton had 7.5. Mitchell had 3.5. And then assist to turnover ratio, Halliburton's was 3.3 and Mitchell's was 3.0. And then on top of that, Jeremy Lamb hasn't played a lot, but he's shooting the 3 ball better than someone that's making the 3 ball. I think he's 3rd on 3-pointers made this season, but has a better 3-point percentage than Buddy Hield. Jeremy Lamb, 37.5, Buddy Hield, 36.8. I really like what the Kings are doing right now.
Well, I like getting Sabonis, but I don't like giving away Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton, in my opinion, is the 3rd best player that's in their second year, outside of obviously LaMelo and then Anthony Edwards. But this is a guy who's shooting from the 3 41%. 41% from 3 on 5 attempts per game in his second year. And last season he was 41.3. So this kid can shoot, he can score, and like you said, 7 assists per game. He's at 5.3 this season. He was 7.4 last season. Oh no, you're right. I was looking at the wrong one. He's 7.4 this season. Last season he was 5. Yeah, so this kid can play make, he can shoot. There's not a whole lot of things that you look at him and you're like, I don't like what's in his game. But Domantas Sabonis is, in my opinion, the 2nd best power forward in the NBA outside of Giannis Antetokounmpo. So in their first game, they won with him, but I think this is going to be something that we have to wait and see a little bit because obviously Tyrese is young. That Pacers team is not going to be good this year. The Kings aren't good. I don't see them being able to make a playoff push. But you never know. They could go on a crazy win streak, but they most likely won't. So this is going to be a thing we're going to see the results of it over time because Sabonis is he's only 25. A lot of people forget that. So he's still young. He's still developing. And he's really, really good. I just don't know how good this connection with De'Aaron Fox is going to be because De'Aaron can't really shoot that well. So we'll have to wait and see. I like the trade more for the Pacers than I do for the Kings, in all honesty, but I could be completely wrong a couple years down the line. But right now, I think the Kings lost the trade by a small margin.
Because the Kings right now in the Western Conference, they're 12th. And then for the play-in, it's 8. Well, what's the play-in? 8 through 11 or 8 through
10?
It's 8 through 10. So they're only 2 spots behind the 10th spot. And then as record-wise, Pelicans are 22-32, Trailblazers are 22-34, and then you have the Kings 21-36, and then you have the Lakers 26-30. So if the Russ Westbrook or pandemonium doesn't get solved, one of those teams can slip down. And if the Trailblazers, they're going to keep on going down too. So it kind of puts the Kings, if they're able to get things right with all the acquisitions that they got, they can make a push to the play-in tournament. Now, make some noise in the playoffs. I don't think I'm ready to say that yet. I think though, whoever, like in a hypothetical situation, let's say if they make it in at 8, they're going to have to play the Suns. I don't think they'll really compete with the Suns. I think those Suns will win that in 5. The Kings will take 1. But the direction that this team is going so far, like Davion Davion Mitchell, excuse me, shooting 32% from the three. So you're missing Halliburton in that department and then the assists and stuff. But I think you give him more minutes, he's going to have a chance to really he's going to really have a chance to accelerate himself and get to the numbers that Halliburton was producing. It was a big loss for the Kings losing him because he's so young, and it looked like his career was just going to keep on going up and up and up. But I like the move.
I don't want to look too much into it after just one game.
Yeah.
Because the Kings in their win against the Timberwolves only had 2 players shoot under 50%. That was Holiday and Jeremy Lamb. So, but then you got Davion Mitchell, who had 18, 7, and 7. De'Aaron Fox had 27 and 8. Harrison Barnes had 30 and 8. Then you got obviously Sabonis, who had 22, 14, and 5. So if they play like that, this team's going to make the play-in and potentially they'll make the playoffs. But you're not going to get this every night, especially De'Aaron Fox has been a guy who has really underperformed this season. And if the addition of Sabonis is what it's going to take for him to turn it around, then I do believe that this team is going to be they're going to be a playoff team, because last season he averaged 25 and 7. This year he's at 21 and 5. So, but like I said, yesterday he had 27 and 8. So he keeps that type of production up with Sabonis, and Sabonis obviously is a guy who just seemingly always gets a double-double, no matter what it takes. He just always puts up numbers. This is going to be a team that's going to make the play-in, because like you said, they're only a game back from the 10 seed, and then the Lakers are struggling. So they could end up finishing this season as like the 8 seed or the 7 seed. I don't think they'll make it to the 6 seed, but this is a team that we could see make some noise in the play-in. Not, like you said, not so sure about the playoffs, but just right now, my opinion, I think the Pacers won, just because I think Halliburton is going to be a really, really good player in this league. But that's not to say that the Kings didn't win also, because Sabonis, like I said, is the second best power forward in the league. So time will tell. Time will tell, and maybe we'll see the benefits for the Kings this season.
Yeah, and I didn't even know that like all of them played yesterday against the Timberwolves and got the win against the Timberwolves. So like you said, if they keep up that performance on a nightly basis, they'll be chilling. And then De'Aaron Fox reminds me of a prime John Wall. He can get to the basket. He can score at the basket. I don't think he could really, because John Wall, his midi game was really good in his prime, like really, really good. So I think De'Aaron Fox has to start evolving off of his mid-range and then shooting the 3 ball. Because if he starts doing that, man. But time will tell with these two teams. And speaking about the Pacers, one more thing I wanted to say was I think they should trade away Miles Turner. Like you already got rid of Sabonis. Miles Turner is like the second part of what that team was trying to build with him, Malcolm Brogdon, Jeremy Lamb, et cetera, et cetera. You might as well trade them away because you're committing to a rebuild. And I think those guys can benefit somewhere else where their talents are at.
I actually, I thought the same thing when the deal was first made, but I think that Halliburton and Miles Turner's games go really well together. And I'm not going to compare Tyrese Halliburton to James Harden.
Right.
But offensively, I think Halliburton can be the type of player that we saw James Harden be for a couple of years, not 36 points per game, but I could see Tyrese Halliburton being like a 27 point per game guy. And he knows how to play make. Miles Turner's a big, and I really think Miles Turner is a good player, and we might see them make a move because they were planning on cleaning house, and I'm sure that's not going to stop. So maybe Miles Turner leaves, but I think he's a good compliment to Tyrese Halliburton, and Tyrese Halliburton's a good compliment to him. But like you said, if they're committed to a rebuild, why keep a guy that's making that much money when you could probably get some picks for him?
Exactly. And then what the way the draft is going to look this year, it's a lot of good guys that they can get in that position. One of them being Jabari Smart, the power forward out of Auburn, and then the center that they got too, if he declares for the draft. I gotta look up his name, but he's been playing really good too.
Yeah, there's a lot. This draft doesn't seem at first going into the season it was like supposed to be super top heavy, but now it seems like it's just a really well-rounded class. Like I don't think Chet Holmgren is he's still really good, but I don't think he's the player that everyone thought he was going to be, like transcendently great. But this is a transcendently great draft class overall. There's really deep talent, at least by the looks of it. And yeah, if you're the Pacers, why not trade Miles Turner and try and get some more of those guys than you're already going to be able to get?
Exactly. What's next on the tab? What do we got?
We already shared our thoughts on Kyrie, and you brought up John Wall. John Wall is a guy who his name has been in circulation around trade rumors with the Lakers and Russell Westbrook. So just circle back to Kyrie real quick. Doesn't need to take a lot of time, but do you think Kyrie is a bigger problem to the Nets or Russell Westbrook is a bigger problem to the Lakers?
See, we've been slamming this problem with Russell Westbrook over and over and over again. So for the sake of that, I'm gonna take the Kyrie route. Kyrie, when he's on the floor and when he's playing, he is a top 5 player in the NBA. Top 5 player in the NBA. When he's not on the floor, you see this team struggle, and you see these all-stars like James Harden get frustrated with their team. Now, beg to differ, when we see Russell Westbrook on the floor, he's not doing what he's been doing in the past, averaging triple-double after triple-double. But in the sense of, in a hypothetical world where if they don't lift the if they don't lift the vaccine mandate, that will become a very big nuisance towards the Brooklyn Nets in the playoffs. Because if they make the playoffs, which they will, when they go on the road, they're like, well, we can't play without Kyrie, so you're going to have to change your whole game plan. You have to change everything that you go against with every single team that you play on the road. And I'm not getting mad at Kyrie for not taking the vaccine or anything. Like, if you like, that's his decision. You said it before, he's going to stick to his guns. But I think Kyrie would be a bigger problem towards Brooklyn as to trying to win the championship. Russell Westbrook, on the other hand, they're getting towards the All-Star break, and there's still a lot of games to be played. And Russell Westbrook can turn into that bright star that we've seen on multiple occasions. So there's still time.
Yeah, I mean, there is still time, but I got to go with Russ. Reason being, like you said, I mean, the Nets are on what, like almost a 10-game losing streak or something like that. But I mean, that they're still on a 10-game losing streak and they're 4 games over 500. That is 4 games over 500, and the Lakers are 4 games under 500, and Russell Westbrook has played all but 1 game. And LeBron and AD have missed significant time. And we talked when they first made the trade for Russell Westbrook. We're like, this is a trade that neither one of us were huge fans of it, but we both said this is a trade that's going to win them games when LeBron and AD don't play. And that hasn't been the case. Russell Westbrook, unfortunately, just doesn't look like he has it right now. I don't know what it is. I think he's in his head. The Lakers fans boo him every time he touches the ball, and that's a problem. And I'm not blaming it completely on Russell Westbrook, because I think as a fan, this guy's trying to get his mind right, and you're booing him when he touches the ball. That does something to his confidence. But the way he's played, just it hasn't been good enough. Quite frankly, it just hasn't been good enough. And you said Kyrie's a top 5 player, which is blasphemous when he plays. But I agree. Kyrie's one of the best players in the world when he plays. Not top 5, but he's one of the best in the world. Russell Westbrook just isn't. And I'd rather have Kyrie playing at the level he's playing for half the games than Russell Westbrook playing at the level he's playing for all the games, because I feel like Kyrie, when he plays, is winning them games. And when Russell Westbrook plays, he's losing them games. But that's just my opinion. I don't know. I mean, when Kyrie doesn't play, I guess you could make the argument he's losing them games. So it's a pretty even split, but I got to go with Russell Westbrook.
Because they're in the position, both teams, well, not both teams. Russell is in, it's all psychological right now, where fans are booing him. players are getting on him, all this, that, the third. But I think Russ, there's still light at the end of the tunnel, meaning Russ still has a chance. He still has half of a season to replace everything that this imposter of Russell Westbrook has right now and turn into that guy that's been performing. Because think about it like this. If Kyrie's not playing and Kevin Durant's out and now James Harden's gone, Ben Simmons is going to have to play with a bunch of young players. On the flip side, when Russ is out and LeBron playing at, I don't want to keep on harping the message that the media is harping, but in year 19, the numbers that he's been playing with, been playing phenomenal basketball. And AD's coming around too. So when he's off the court, the Lakers still have a chance to win. But when Kyrie's not playing in those road games, it's more like oh my God, like with no Kevin Durant and now with no James Harden, it's like what are we gonna do in this situation? But I get what you're saying though.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know. This is another one of those things that we won't really know until the end of the season because this is kind of how Russell Westbrook played last season to start off, and it was about this point when he turned it on. So I'll give him after the All-Star break. I'll give him a week. I'll give him matter of fact, give him 2 weeks, and after those 2 weeks, we'll revisit this conversation and we'll talk about who's really more of a problem for their team.
Yeah, if Russell Westbrook comes back a superstar and he wins the Lakers a playoff series, I'll buy a jersey. I'll say it right now, I'll buy a jersey.
All right, and now let's finish with one more basketball thing, but we're switching to college basketball. Number 1 Auburn, another number 1 team this season, falls. That number 1 team, Auburn, falls to Arkansas at Arkansas. Thoughts?
Man, you know how like you're watching like a team playing college basketball that's been on a winning streak, and you just know that they're gonna lose, and it's coming up soon. Like you ever get that feeling about like the Dukes in the world, the Kansas in the world, so on and so forth?
Yeah. It's
that's
like whenever Kansas is number 1, they always end up losing.
Yeah, that's how I felt about Auburn. Like the last scores were pretty close besides 2. 80 to 71, 55 to 54, 86 to 68, 100 to 81, and then 74 to 72. They were getting close to getting dethroned at the top. I think they'll still probably be number 1 on how they've been playing throughout this whole season. Because I think Baylor stayed the same when they lost to, I think it was either Oklahoma State or it was West Virginia, one of those teams. But they shot 25% from the 3, 19 turnovers, and 28 personal fouls. If you're sending Arkansas to the free throw line with the turnovers on top of that, one of the biggest things from Arkansas last season was how they could score in the transition game with JD Nota and Moses. He's on the Warriors. I think
Moody.
Moses Moody. Is it? Yeah, Moses Moody. They were able to get out in transition and score with those transition points. If you're giving them 19 turnovers, that's 19 points right there. And then you send them to the free throw line on top of that. But Auburn, whoever they're going to play next, should be scared because that's going to be their get back game.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up everything I was going to bring up. Arkansas shot 32 free throws and hit 81% of them. So they were 26 for 32. Auburn shot 17 free throws and only made 47%. They were 8 for 17. And like you said, 19 turnovers for Auburn to 11 for Arkansas, and then 28 fouls for Auburn to 17 for Arkansas. I mean, you look at those numbers and you're like, oh my gosh, Arkansas must have blown out Auburn. They beat them by 4. This team played horrible basketball and they only lost by 4 points. I agree with you. The team that plays Auburn next, maybe even any team that has them on their schedule for the rest of the season should be terrified, especially because they got a 2-game little streak here where they're playing at home. They got Texas A&M and then Vanderbilt. I expect both those games to be blowouts. I mean, seriously, they played really bad basketball, and they shot 25% from three, 37 from the field, and then 47 from the free throw line. Those are horrible numbers. If that's a player's stats, he would never play again. This guy's career would be over. But the fact they only lost by 4, and that's what their team stats look like, I think this Auburn team is going to be really tough to beat come tournament time, unless we see obviously a repeat of this performance.
And what's crazy is on how bad their performance was, they still dropped 70 plus points. Like you would think, hearing those numbers and hearing like the turnovers and everything, that they wouldn't even they would have like 54 or 56 points, somewhere around that ballpark. But for them to score the way that they did with everything that was going on in that game, Vanderbilt's going to have a rude awakening. Texas A&M, they've competed, but they're gonna lose by more than 10. And then Vanderbilt, it's only Scottie Pippen Jr. And then the rest is just man.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people want to talk about, oh, Arkansas beat them. Auburn's not very good. People play bad games, and if you have to have a bad game, February 9th or February 8th is probably the day to have a bad game as opposed to sometime in March.
Exactly. You couldn't have said better. You couldn't have said it better, because the whole sense of the matter is getting your bad games out getting your bad games out now is amazing, because you're not going to play like that when it comes to getting your conference title and when it comes to March. Now, March, the unthinkable happens, right? Virginia losing to a 16 seed, and then other teams getting upsetted. Loyola Chicago going on the run. You don't know what to expect. But Auburn, whoever comes across Auburn, it's going to be very hard to beat that team.
Yeah, I completely agree. And now we're going to shift to the last two topics. The first one, John, I got to be honest. I saw this on the doc, and I was like, what is he talking about? So you explain. Will Kyler Murray get traded? I don't know what that's about. So you explain.
All right, so basically, Kyler Murray unfollowed everyone that affiliated with the Arizona Cardinals. Coach, players, everything. And then I was on Reddit the other day, and Denver's Reddit was talking about Kyler Murray possibly getting traded to the Denver Broncos. I was like, wait, hold on. Rodgers is supposed to go there. And then I was like, wait a minute. If Kyler did all this, when a player usually unfollows the team and the players, something ain't going right behind closed doors. I think Kyler Murray will stay with Arizona, but if a team throws an offer that direction with the behavior that Kyler Murray is doing right now on social media, I wouldn't be surprised if Kyler Murray got the boot and he was traded to another team. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
So you think he's going to get traded and he's not going to leave? He's going to get traded?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking into this little story here by Fox News. I had not heard anything about this, if I'm being honest. So I was shocked. But do we really think if he was getting traded, would he would he know? Did they tell him in advance? Maybe those guys on Reddit know more than me, but I don't see why you trade him. You were the best team in football for a few weeks this season. More than a few weeks, probably like half the season, you were the best team. And then a couple injuries to key leaders on the team set them back. And Kyler had a really good season. He was an MVP candidate. If they trade him, they better be getting a big haul.
Listen. For half the season, they were the best team, right? And then everything else occurred. So it says a couple things. And then when D-Hop left, everything went into shambles. I was like, Kyler can't perform without D-Hop, which I think is true, but that's a different conversation for another day. But I think the ownership, because they monitor everything. Like they own the team, so they're gonna have to monitor everything. And if they're looking at how he's unfollowing the team, how he's doing other things that he shouldn't be doing to get traded, the ownership's going to look at it as, okay, if he's doing this now, imagine what it's going to be like in the season. That might be Ben Simmons' NFL version, right? Where he's just not showing up. He's just not doing anything. And we're going to have to find him in order to make him play and do all this. So if they do trade him, I hope they get a lot back. But I wouldn't be surprised if they trade him.
Yeah, we'll see. I was laughing. I saw something on Instagram as I was like trying to find Kyler Murray's. I was trying to find Kyler Murray's Instagram. But also when I look up Kyler Murray on the internet, the first thing that popped up was it was Kyler Murray is a midget. That was funny. But no, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they're trying to clear the way for a guy like Russell Wilson, who's potentially leaving, or Aaron Rodgers, who's potentially leaving, or Deshaun Watson, who might be in a new place next year. So there could be a whole lot of things going on in Arizona that we don't know about. But some stuff we do know a little bit about. It's called the Super Bowl, John. You made you talk pretty highly about one of these teams. I talk pretty highly about the other one. But at the end of the day, our opinions don't really matter, or our who we want to win doesn't really matter. It's more about who we truthfully believe is going to win. So, John, you got the Rams or the Bengals?
I got Cincy. Cincy is winning this game. Joe Burrow is going to do it for Buffalo, and Jamar Chase is going to do it for Stephon Diggs. Listen, I love everything about this team, right? It makes it harder to defend. And getting Jamar Chase, I'm sorry for everyone that I told that getting Jamar Chase was a bad idea. I will quote this. I said, getting Jamar Chase is like getting a Ferrari without any insurance. You have the luxury, but once you crash it, it's done. Jamar Chase hasn't seen the crash. He's speeding. He's going as fast as he could, or as fast as he can. And there's no stopping Jamar Chase, baby. Joe Burrow, despite him not playing an Aaron Rodgers season, because Aaron Rodgers is going to win MVP, Joe Burrow's been showing up in these big games. He showed up in Kansas City. He showed up in Tennessee. And then we can't forget about Evan McPherson that solidified these wins for Cincinnati. Yes, they got sacked 9 times. Yes, the offensive line is still a struggle for them and still will be a struggle in the Super Bowl. But when I look at it, when I look at the Rams and them not having the best pass defensive season that you would imagine, that gives an edge towards Cincinnati because of the amount of weapons that they have on that offense. And then that defense is slept on too. So if you stop Cooper Kupp, which is going to be very hard. Still got OBJ, but then it's like, I don't know if is Tyler Higbee playing? Is he playing?
I don't know. I think he is, yeah.
So let's say in a hypothetical world, he's not playing. Besides them two, are you really going to lean on Van Jefferson to get you a Super Bowl win? I got the Bengals, man.
Yeah, I mean, Higbee didn't play in the last game, but he's had 2 weeks, so I don't know. But I'm picking the Rams. Here's the thing with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. You said Jamar Chase is a Ferrari without insurance, and when it crashes, it's going to be bad, and he hasn't crashed. Jamar Chase has crashed. Joe Burrow has crashed. Jamar Chase leads the NFL in drops. Joe Burrow leads the NFL in time sacked. But somehow, some way, that doesn't stop this team. That they have crashed over and over again. Their insurance is expired. This team is running from the law right now. I mean, they are so hot. They're like OJ. They're just going to keep going. They're just going to keep going until they run out of gas. And honestly, I don't think they're running out of gas in the Super Bowl. I think this is going to be a game where Joe Burrow and that offense are electric. But unfortunately for them, Matt Stafford, he just wants it more. Here's the thing. You got Joe Burrow, a guy who hasn't lost a playoff game in I think like 6 or 7 years. He hasn't lost a playoff game since his final high school game of his career in the high school state championship game, where, by the way, he threw 6 touchdowns and his first career interception. So Joe Burrow is that guy when it comes to big games. Matt Stafford has never been that guy because he's never had the opportunity, but he's been performing. Cooper Kupp has been performing. Odell Beckham has been performing. You got top 7 quarterback and 2 top 10 wide receivers, and then the 2 best players in the entire NFL. The best player of all time in Aaron Donald, and then one of the best corners of all time in Jalen Ramsey. This is going to be a Super Bowl for the ages. This is a matchup where a lot of people expected the Rams to be here. Not a lot of people expected the Bengals to be here. But at the end of the day, I think this isn't going to be a game about want to, because I think both teams equally want it just as bad. I think this is going to come down to coaching, where I think Sean McVay is the edge on Zach Taylor, and it's going to come down to just pure skill. And I think the Rams have the skill advantage. But listen, I think that offense is going to be explosive for Cincinnati, and I think the offense for the Rams is going to be explosive, and both defenses are really good. So this is a game that could be really high scoring or really low scoring. But either way, I think it's going to be close. With that said, I'm going to stick with LA, and I'm taking the Rams.
Okay. Aaron Donald's going to be a problem. Same with Von Miller if they put Leonard Floyd on the line. One off-topic thing I have to say: if Kyler Murray gets traded and Aaron Rodgers goes to Tampa, or just finds a way to go to the AFC, go to Tennessee, the Detroit Lions will be a wild card team. You heard it here first. They will be a wild card team.
Really?
Yeah, because think about it. You have, let's say all of this occurs. Let's say for the craziness and the fun of the podcast world, let's say all of this occurs. You have Russell Wilson, who starts off hot and then goes cold. You have an offense that can't block for Russell Wilson. You have a defense that can't keep an offense off the field for Russell Wilson to go to work with. Then you got the Rams. The Rams they're just going to run away with the NFC. Green Bay is in a rebuild. With some Tampa Bay, they don't get Rodgers. They're kind of in the same situation. They're a quarterback away. And if Kyle Trask, or if they pick up another quarterback, has the ability to take that team to playoffs, then by all means. Then you got the Eagles. Then the Cowboys will always be the Cowboys. The Lions can sneak into that position. I'm telling you, Mike.
I'm not saying it's crazy. I really don't think it's crazy. They need a couple more pieces, though. That offense, I do think they get 1 or 2 more O linemen. They'll be fine. I think Jared Goff can be a suitable quarterback for them. I don't think they need to make a replacement. I think the defense is where they're going to need to make some changes. But they're also getting back a guy who we haven't really seen play in the NFL, and that's Jeff Okudah, or however you say his name. He's a real good player. So I do think that team is going to be a lot. It's going to be more improved. A wild card, though, we'll have to wait and see like who they draft and if they get anyone in free agency. Because currently sitting with their talent level, I think they would have to probably win that NFC North, just because I still think the Cardinals and the Bucks will be around. I think the Saints are going to be around. But if the Packers lose Rodgers, I don't think they'll be around. It's going to be like between the Bears, Vikings, and Lions for the NFC North. And I don't know. I think with 2 new head coaches, the Lions might be able to win the NFC North if the Packers lose Rodgers and the Vikings and Bears just can't get things rolling with their new head coach. But that's the thing we'll have to wait and see about.
Yeah. Topic is coming back soon. It is coming back soon. So if you're Detroit Lions fans, listen to this. I have hope. And don't go drafting a rookie quarterback. Just keep Jared Goff for now. Because you guys were in most of your games when you guys played. And that's saying, with that roster, that's saying something. Like, man.
Yeah, I mean, Jared Goff he's won a lot of games. And you can say it's a product of Sean McVay, but I mean, he's won a lot of games. You can't win a lot of games if you're a terrible quarterback, and he's done it. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? And I said it a lot on this episode, but it's just true. We won't know until it happens. I just personally don't think the way it's currently constructed, it's a wild card team. But once again, they can make a lot of moves, or just key moves, and we'll see. So I think that's it. Go Rams.
Cincy, baby. Who dat? It's the only time I'm saying that. Bills Mafia, baby. This is for us. And then we're going to win one next year, hopefully. Anywho, subscribe to our podcast on all podcasting platforms. I repeat, on all podcasting platforms. and YouTube. Like and comment our videos on YouTube. Follow our podcast on Twitter. Greatest place if you need to find humor. It's a great place for it. Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Me and Mike will be back on Monday. And oh yeah, also if you're still listening, Carson Camp, South Dakota State quarterback, Sports Illustrated Man of the Year, Player of the Year, is coming on to the show, baby. So yeah. Any last words, Mike?
No, like you said, Twitter's a funny place. I just saw Joel Embiid's tweet after the Ben Simmons trade. It's a funny little picture. So check that out if you haven't seen it already. But no, that's all I got.
Later. I'm gonna just say later. I was about to say something stupid, but I'm gonna just say it. I'm gonna say it later. Yo, welcome back to the 1497 podcast, baby. I'm with my boy Carson Camp, South Dakota State quarterback, Sports Illustrated Player of the Year, baby. Man, welcome to the show, man. What's good?
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it. I think this is a good little opportunity that we both got. I'm ready to chop it up a little bit with you, and I'm excited to be on here.
Man, I'm excited too, because I was looking at your Instagram a couple days ago, and I was looking at that video that you were talking to all the young quarterbacks, and it really touched. And I was like, man, like I want Carson to come up on here, talk about his story, and just see what's on your mind. So my first question to you is, describe to me what life was like growing up for you.
Great question. I think that for me, at least, it was always being surrounded by sports for starters. I was a basketball, football player, baseball player. I did gymnastics at one point. I was doing track. I mean, everything above. So for me, it was being outside, just being a kid, growing up, doing everything like just hands-on, getting in trouble a little bit, not too much trouble, but getting my hands a little dirty, all that stuff. But like, that was for me. That was my family. That was, obviously I have an older sister and a younger brother, and like, we were always like into sports. It always correlated with one another, whether it was outside, watching sports, whatever it was. So that was my life, was just sports, and sports. So I thought that was, really cool, really unique as a kid, just to experience everything that I've experienced so far.
That's what's up. Yeah, because like it's important to live that lifestyle as a kid and always having fun and always being so hands-on with everything and playing everything. And then with guys that are with anyone that participates in more than one sport, who or what made you or made football so special in your life?
I would say, I mean, everyone's gonna have an idol, but for starters, like my father, like did a great job, kind of introducing football to me. At first, we were when I was younger, I was introduced to be like a football fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, because my dad's a diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan. So when I was younger, I would always watch like the Philadelphia Eagles games, or games, I should say. And I kind of remember like watching like Donovan McNabb, Kevin Kolb, all those guys that played for the Eagles. And then as I grew and as the game kind of grew on me, everyone, obviously knows who he is. Most loved but hated guy is Tom Brady. I think that's a guy that everyone loves to watch. So, I mean, if I had to like actually pick someone that kind of influenced me and kind of showed me everything, I mean, if it wasn't for my father, I would say, Tom Brady has definitely like put a really big influence on me. I've tried to have the same demeanor as him, everything like that. So I think that's like the cool thing about it. And I would just say pretty much those two guys, my father and Tom Brady.
Yeah, for me, it was I got into football because of Gronk. Because like Gronk was just so fun to play, watch him play. And then like Gronk off the field, it was like, man, like this guy like knows how to have fun and take care of business at the same time. And I like that you are an Eagles fan, because my friend that I do podcasts with is a huge Eagles fan.
Right.
So y'all could definitely talk about
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts and what the path is going for the Eagles direction. And then speaking of all the guys that you talked about, Donovan McNabb, he once got a chance to hold up an NFC championship trophy, and trophies are a huge thing to collect as accolades. So you won Sports Illustrated Player of the Year. Congratulations on that, my man. When you first received the award, how did you feel?
I would say it was like really like surreal. It was like, is this actually like happening. And then like when you touch that trophy, you're like, wow, this is happening. This is a surreal moment. So like it was cool to, we were in Hollywood, Florida, and it was cool to other athletes were there, like celebrities. I mean, Tyler Hero, who else? A couple of boxers. I'm trying to think who else was there. Adonis Haslam was there. Like, guy Tom Brady was there. So like it was cool to be around those athletes. Not only were you like talking to them, because I was able to talk to like a lot of those people. You kind of like understand their journey. So like that's like the cool thing too, is like you understand like everyone's journey is going to be different. My journey is different than yours. Your journey is different than the guy next to you. So it's like that's a cool thing about it. So I would just say like that overall moment was like there's so many key takeaways from it. I would say yes, for real, like it was surreal, but also like you learned a lot about yourself. Like wow, like I'm in this moment. Like God chose me to be in this journey. So why not keep it up and why not continue this journey and continue to be successful?
And then with all the stories that you heard, you probably heard stories from like Adonis Haslam, Tyler Hero, Brady, which is cold. What was like the biggest takeaway from each story that you were listening to?
Yeah, great question. I would say just like being patient, like and understanding like what your journey, like what the outcome of your journey is going to be, and like understand that like again, like your journey is going to be different than everybody. So like being patient, understanding that like, hey, just because my journey hasn't necessarily started, even though it has, but like started, in a different way than somebody next to me, like at the end of the day, like the outcome is going to be the outcome. God's going to put you through that outcome, whatever it is. And like you just got to handle it. You got to deal with it. So I mean, I thought a lot of what they said. I mean, they had a lot of common key characteristics, but like it was just more or less just like being patient, putting your nose in the ground and working hard and just continue to grind.
Yeah, and the grind is the biggest part of it because that's what gets you motivated to go
Mhm.
do that task every single day, especially at a young age. That's hard, and motivation kind of slips away because you want to go kick it with friends or you want to do that because it's just so much work at that time. Has your motivation drive ever slowed down before? And if it has, how did you pick it back up?
I would say for the most part, like my motivational drive has always been consistent, if not higher. If I ever thought I would reach a point where it slowed down, it probably would have been like when I got here into college. Because when you get to college, like you're surrounded by other athletes. So you're like, am I good enough? Am I not good enough? But then as workouts kind of begun and everything like that, I kind of understood that like, oh, I fit at the University of South Dakota. I fit being a D1 football player. So my motivation really has always been high, like every day, every year, every month, whatever you want to call it. And I would say like after this year, like I played now, I guess with the spring and fall season that we play, I played a total of like 16 or 17 games. And like now I know what to expect. So now it's like it's awesome that you can like build off of that. So like that's where my motivation is like it's always gonna be high because I know I can build off of like already the talent I have and I can just be even that much more better. So I would probably just say my motivation has always been pretty high and always consistent.
Yeah, because when people get around like those guys, especially like going to top like universities, they get like scared. Like that
Mhm.
fear
Yeah.
comes in, like, oh my God, like this is like a 5-star recruit. Oh my God, this is
Right.
another 5-star recruit. And then they start
Mhm.
asking themselves, like, what am I doing here? Did I make the wrong decision? And I was looking at all the offers you got. I mean, NIU, Minnesota, Western Michigan, all pretty
Mhm.
good schools, and more to come, and more on there too. What made South Dakota say, this is the school for me? I'm going to build at this school.
I would say like you kind of hit on the head. I had other schools kind of recruiting me and everything, and it's hard as a college or excuse me, as a high school athlete. You're like, man, like what is the best option for me? You don't really know the coach that well. They're kind of recruiting you, and they're recruiting a bunch of other guys too. But to answer your question, I would say I came on a visit to South Dakota, and everything just kind of felt right. Everyone always talks about like that gut feeling. I've heard it before, especially by older athletes, but hey, like when like yada yada. So I'd say like I knew when I stepped on campus, I'm like, man, even though this town might be a little small, might be in South Dakota, but these are great coaching staff, great facilities, and this gives me an opportunity to play the game I love, football. And I think that was kind of the three key takeaways I would say. So, yeah, I would just say, it's been the best decision I've made so far.
Yeah, and going off of that decision, it makes everything easier for you because once you start to love it more and more and more, it's like, man, I can't wait to go play
Mhm.
quarterback for South Dakota. Man, I can't wait to play in these games and stay in the film room. And you are really big on film where it comes to you need to be in the film room from this time to that time, and then the extra hours that goes into that film. So when was the first moment you told yourself, I need to live in the film room?
I would say like our very first practice, I was like in high school as a quarterback, and I think a lot of quarterbacks could agree with me. In high school, like your basic coverages, like everything, but like in college, like it's all about tendencies and like understanding what each individual person on that defensive lineup does or that whatever they do. So like I was to the very first day of practice, I'm like, wow, like although I might have like performed just fine, I was like, in order for me to know what everyone's doing, not only on the offensive side of the ball, but I gotta know the defensive side of the ball too. So I think that was like that day one. I was like, okay, I gotta watch film. If I want to be great, if I want to be the starting quarterback, I have to put my butt in the film room. So I would just say definitely like that first day, I was like, wow, like gotta get it going. Gotta understand the terminology we're using. Gotta understand what defensive tendencies are. Gotta understand what other coverages teams use out of different formations, stuff like that. So yeah, that was a really it was like a hard left for me because in high school you don't really watch a lot of film. I mean you do, but it's not like as much as college. So yeah, I would just say that first day I was like, man, gotta get my butt in the film room.
Exactly, because like that first day of like college and everything, especially with football, you realize like it's like kind of like hitting like a wall. It's like, wow, all of
Yeah.
this stuff just came at me at once. And then as a quarterback too, you're the most important person on the offensive field because you got to know the offensive line, then you got to know the defensive line, then you got to know the receivers and all that. So you got to live in the film room for that. And most people go in their backyard when they're like 5 or 6, act like they're Peyton Manning, Tom Brady,
Right.
throwing the ball, throwing the pigskin with your dad, throwing it with the boys. So how did you end up at the quarterback position?
It was just like when I was younger. I mean, you kind of hit on the head too. Like I picked up a ball one time at a Parks and Rec like practice or like get together where the daycare was, and I know my parents were watching me, and they're like, "You were with like 8 and 9 year olds, Carson, and you were just throwing the ball just as far as them." And then my parents like went and bought me a football, and I remember like I still remember it like to this day. Like I would always be carrying around the football, always be pretending to be like you said, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, whoever else was at quarterback during the time, and that was just kind of when it grew. I was like, man, I think I really want to be a quarterback. And as time went on, in flag football, I was a quarterback, and then tackle football, JFL, Junior Football League, it was like I was a quarterback. I've always played quarterback, so I've always played quarterback since I've been 5 years old, and I haven't not loved it ever since. So I think that was just kind of where it started when I was younger.
Yeah, and then with like the quarterback play, like there's a lot of fun that comes into it when a guy's about to sack you, you evade the pressure, and then you're
Right.
moving around in the pocket trying to make a big play after that. And I was watching your highlight tape, I was like, damn, like Carson
Mhm.
can move. Like when you think the play's dead, you somehow put surgery on it and then you turn it into a touchdown, which is a really big thing that a lot of the youth is trying to do right now. So how have you managed to get so good at throwing under pressure and escaping the pressure to make those big plays?
It's pocket movement. I think it's balance. I mean, quarterbacks, they got to have balance. They got to understand when to invade pressure, when to stay in the pocket. It's hard. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think there's times in games and even in practice. I mean, you want to escape the pocket and you're like, I can. And there's times where you're like, man, I got to get the hell out of Dodge and not get hit here. So I think it's a lot of it is instinct. I think too. I think you got to be athletic. You got to be able to play that position out of athletic ability. You can't have your feet kind of in hot mud or hot sand, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I mean, it was just more or less just kind of like athletic ability, sensing like when pressure's coming. I mean, a lot of it has to do with like repetitions as well. Like when you get a lot of reps, and like I said, I've been playing quarterback since I've been 5 years old. So I to be honest with you, I kind of get it. I kind of get when there's pressure and when there's not, and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of it has to do with just kind of repetition, sensing the pressure. Athletic ability is a big key right there. So yeah, just probably those main three things are kind of what gets me to where I'm at. And like you said, throwing surgery on it, getting out of there and making the plays.
Yeah, because when you're getting surgical on those plays, it's like kind of a electric feeling that goes through your body. Like, man, I just did that. And then your you self thinking about that is like, man, I want to do that, but you got to grind to get to that position. So how do you express your message of grinding towards the youth?
Well, I mean, in that video, I kind of talked about it. I mean, it's you gotta watch film. I think a lot of it, it's just like when you watch film. I mean, like a lot of things, like they tell you like what they're doing. And I think like knowing where you want to go with the ball, like you want to put the ball in your playmaker's hands at all times, and that's how you're going to be successful. And like all you got to do is throw the ball, deliver it on time, and you watch. I mean, for example, Pat Mahomes. I mean, is he a great quarterback? Absolutely. But man, he puts the ball in Tyreek Hill's hands, and everyone is like amazed by Tyreek Hill because that guy can make moves, make dudes miss. So like that's the big key to it is, can you as a quarterback understand where the ball needs to go in this type of look or in this type of particular game plan, and can you deliver when pressure's on the line, when pressure's on your face? So I think that's like the key things that I would say if someone was asked like that question that you asked me. I think that's pretty key to those things.
Yeah, and then like going off of like Patrick Mahomes and then Rodgers too. It's like people are so amazed at what Rodgers can do when the pocket is just getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and he's just able to deliver a bomb to either Valdez-Scantling or Devontae Adams, and you're just so amazed. You're like, man, I gotta try to do this. I gotta get towards that point in my quarterback career. So, what word would you describe the game of quarterbacks to the youth group trying to become a quarterback?
It's a good question. You know, there's always like a lot of words. I would just say elusiveness, I think, is a good word. I would say, you want to be elusive. I mean, although Aaron Rodgers is still 37, 38 years old, I mean, like you just said, when the pocket closes, man, can he make a bomb or throw a bomb and make a move? And then also like get out of the pocket and make throws. So I think being elusive is very key. I think if I had to deliver that message, it'd be being elusive and then underlying the examples of Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes. I mean, Josh Allen, guys that can get out of the pocket and makes things happen. I think that's can really make you successful as a quarterback.
Yeah, because having that elusive trait brings another part to your game that makes you harder to defend and harder to tackle. Because once you get out of the pocket, like Lamar, it's like, oh my God, like he's literally like a running back. He's literally a receiver with all the elusive moves that he can do in open field. And then we were talking about messages and what is the realest message you ever delivered to the youth group about playing quarterback?
Yeah, I would say besides the film part, I would say your feet tell you what your brain are doing. If your feet are moving really, really fast, that means your brain's moving really, really fast, which means that you're not processing well enough. It means one of two things. One, you gotta go play another position, or two, you're not studying well enough to understand what defenses are trying to do to stop you. So that was like a very key message that I've definitely have said to the youth. I mean, your feet, like I said, your feet tell you what your brain doing, and you go out, you gotta have calm feet. You gotta, like I said, I mean, you watch Tom Brady. I mean, is he out there hopping around like a bunny rabbit? No, he is nice and calm. Aaron Rodgers is nice and calm. So that was something that I brought up to the youth. I know a lot of people haven't seen that video, but that's something that I've delivered to the youth. Not in that video though, but just like in general.
Yeah, and that's an important message, especially in times where it's a clutch possession. You need to go down the field and get yourself in field goal range, or you need to go down the field and score a touchdown. Because if you're out here just hopping around and stuff, then that's going to everything's going to be off sync. The offensive line's going to be off sync, the receiver's going to be off sync, etc. So you got to have those traits. And I love that message that you just said, because it prepares you to be calm in a big moment.
Right.
So last question I got for you, Carson. If you could describe your life in one word, what word would that be and why?
Oh man, one word that describes my whole life. I would say like organized. I like to just be organized. I like things in certain spots at certain times. I'm not necessarily like OCD about things, but I am. When you're organized as a quarterback or organized as a person, your life goes a lot more smoother. When you got a calendar in front of you, you got an agenda in front of you. As a quarterback, you got players lined up in the right position. You're telling guys where to go. Your life moves a lot smoother. And I would say that's kind of my life right now. Is I'm organized. I like things that are, like I said, in certain spots. And I want to be organized because, again, that's where the success kind of comes in. Is you look at Tom Brady. I mean, he's telling Gronk, "Hey, Gronk, line up over here. Hey, Gronk, stand up for a second." Stuff like that. I think an organized it has a bunch of underlying like categories underneath it too. Like organized can be under like leadership and working hard and all that. Like, so I think organized might be a broad word, but it like defines other things about me. So I would say organized for sure.
Yeah, because like organization it's a big thing in life because you don't want to be scrambling for this, for that, and then all these other things. Because then when you're organized, you have a list of those things, and then you can just go down the path and just knock them down one by one by one.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Agreed.
So thank you for coming on to the show, my man. Me and my co-host Michael Wood wish you a lot of success going forward, and come back on sometime.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it, Jonathan. I think you've done a great job from your Instagram post, man. Hey, thanks for having me. I know you're a busy guy, so it was fun talking to you.
No problem. I will catch you on the flip, Carson.
Appreciate it, Jonathan.
No problem.